There comes a moment in a man's life when everything around him crumbles. Not just his finances, not just his relationships, not just his reputation, but his sense of self. The illusions he once leaned on collapse under the pressure of truth. The applause he once chased fades into silence. The familiar becomes foreign, and the man is left with nothing except himself. This moment is not a curse. It is an invitation. It is not the end. It is the reckoning. And I say this with conviction. If you are at zero, you are standing at the purest starting point a human being can ever occupy. Because when you have nothing, you are free to become anything. When you lose the noise, you gain the signal. When silence surrounds you, the inner voice finally has a chance to speak. But what you do next determines everything. Most will run. They will reach for distraction. They will numb themselves with opinions, comforts, and low pursuits. They will chase noise again simply to avoid the unbearable weight of their own untrained mind. But the builder, the sovereign, the one who commands destiny, instead of being enslaved by it, that man embraces the silence. He sits in it. He listens. And from that quiet, he begins the most powerful reconstruction project in the universe. Rebuilding the self from zero. Not for appearance, not for performance, not for public redemption, but for mastery. And so I speak now to you not as a motivator, but as a messenger of unshakable truth. If you are ready to rebuild your life in silence, without applause, without shortcuts, without emotion hijacking your path, then understand this. The next version of your life will not be built on noise. It will be built on discipline, clarity, and command. And there are 6 foundations you must lay, each forged in silence, each executed with precision. If you commit to them, not casually, not occasionally, but completely, you will rise. Not just return to where you were, but ascend to a level you never imagined was available. 1. Master the discipline of emotional detachment. When your world collapses, your emotions will rise. Fear, shame, grief, anger, self-pity. They will all come like a violent storm. And if you do not master them, they will build your next life for you. And they will build it small. They will build it from insecurity, from fear of failing again, from resentment toward others, from self-hatred disguised as humility. You must not let this happen. Emotional detachment is not the denial of feeling. It is the decision to feel without being ruled. When fear arises, observe it. Do not run from it. When sadness arrives, sit with it. Do not drown in it. When regret appears, study it. Do not become it. Because the moment you begin to identify as your emotion, you are no longer building, you are surviving. And survival is not the path to mastery. Here is the law. The builder does not ask, "How do I feel?" He asks, "What must be done?" That is the beginning of command. That is the birth of the new self. And it begins not in noise, but in silence. Sit with your emotions, but do not obey them. They are visitors, not architects. You are the architect. 2. Reclaim the first hour of your day. The most powerful moment of your life is not in the grand gesture. It is not when others see you. It is not even when you succeed. It is the first hour after waking, when your mind is still unguarded and your thoughts are still being formed. And that hour belongs to you, or it belongs to the world. If you reach for your phone, the world wins. If you rehearse your pain, the past wins. If you delay purpose, chaos wins. But if you sit in silence and begin the daily practice of commanding your thoughts, you begin to rebuild the structure of identity. You write, even when it feels pointless. You speak your affirmations, even when your voice shakes. You declare your identity, even when your life looks nothing like it yet. You move, not because you're motivated, but because the old self is no longer in charge. Rebuilding your life is not done in noise. It is done in the dark hour when no one sees you, no one claps, and no one knows you're even trying. But the hour knows, and it will reward you, because the man who rules his first hour will rule his day, and the man who rules his day rules his destiny. 3. Create a new inner dialogue through auto-suggestion. You cannot rebuild a powerful life while repeating the inner script that destroyed the last one. You cannot rebuild on shame or guilt or victimhood. You must construct a new language. Your subconscious does not care if what you say is true, it obeys what you say most. So speak wisely. If you speak defeat, it programs limitation. If you speak uncertainty, it hardwires hesitation. If you speak identity firm, clear, disciplined identity, it will shape your future with terrifying accuracy. Speak this daily. I am no longer the man I was. I am calm, and calmness is power. I act even when I feel fear. I do not explain. I do not complain. I move in silence. My word is law. My time is sacred. My mind is mine. I build. I do not beg. I decide. I do not wait. Do not wait for belief. Speak until belief is formed. Then speak again until belief becomes reality. This is not delusion. This is construction. The man who speaks power into himself is no longer begging for it from the world. 4. Refuse to react. Practice the law of mental neutrality. When you rebuild in silence, the world will test you. Not with loud enemies, but with small irritations. With people who doubt you. With opinions that sting. With mistakes that make you want to spiral again. This is the test. And your task is this. Do not react. Observe. Choose. Respond only if necessary. Every time you react emotionally, you leak power. You become predictable. You become weak. But every time you hold your center, every time you feel the heat rise, and you breathe instead of bark, you are gaining momentum. Silence is not weakness. Stillness is not indecision. Calmness is not surrender. These are the tools of kings. These are the habits of builders. These are the traits of those who reconstruct their empires without needing anyone's applause. Build neutrality like a fortress, because the one who controls his reactions is the only one capable of building something that lasts. 5. Obsess over discipline, not motivation. If you want your life to change, stop chasing emotional highs. Do not wait to feel ready. Do not wait to feel strong. Do not wait until the stars align, until your past makes sense, until someone forgives you, until the economy improves, until your old wounds close. That is weakness disguised as logic. Discipline does not negotiate. Discipline is boring, repetitive, unseen. It is the cold, daily choice to show up no matter what the emotions say. Discipline is doing what you promised long after the feelings that made the promise have died. If you can fall in love with discipline, you will become unstoppable. If you can obey your highest self even when no one is watching, especially, then you will develop a force the world cannot name, but everyone will feel. Discipline is not a prison. It is the sword that cuts away the old life, and it is the chisel that carves the new one. 6. Cultivate the silent identity of the master builder. The final step is the hardest. It is the decision to no longer announce your transformation. Do not explain. Do not justify. Do not seek understanding from the people who only knew you as broken. Let them talk. Let them guess. Let them mock. You do not owe anyone your noise. You owe yourself your future. Speak less, move more, show nothing, build everything. Let your life become a weapon forged in silence. Let your energy shift the room, not your voice. Let your results interrupt every conversation they once had about you. Because in silence, you are not avoiding the world, you are becoming someone it cannot ignore. And when the time comes when you walk back into the world, not with your hand out, but with your life rebuilt in discipline, forged in detachment, constructed by identity, you will not need to prove a thing. The silence will speak for you. And it will say, this one rebuilt from zero and became everything. The man who rebuilds in silence becomes unrecognizable, not because he seeks attention, but because his absence from noise makes his presence undeniable. Let us now go deeper into each of these 6 foundations, not as theory, but as the code you will live by. Because if you are truly starting from zero, you must realize you have no room for emotional waste, no tolerance for mental fog, no capacity for scattered identity. No luxury of time to explain your transformation to people who would rather watch than build. You must now become cold in your clarity, but burning with purpose. You must move with a stillness so sharp, so deliberate that even your silence feels like action. Because when you begin to live like this, not someday, but now, the old version of you will have no place to return to. And that is the goal. Let's take these 6 disciplines and install them permanently into the structure of your new life. 1. Emotional detachment is not numbness, it is mastery. You must train your nervous system to feel without falling. You must harden your posture without freezing your heart. You must remain human but not reactive. The old self flinched at insult. It was pierced by opinion. It internalized rejection. It took silence as failure. It mistook loneliness for defeat. The new self observes emotion as data. That's all it is. A signal, not a command. Emotion says, "You are afraid." The builder replies, "And still I act." Emotion says, "You are alone." The builder replies, "Then now is the time to build uninterrupted." Emotion says, "You might fail." The builder replies, "Then I will fail forward and finish stronger." That's it. No story, no spiral, just observation followed by intelligent action. This is the language of the master. When you become emotionally neutral, you stop reacting to life and begin to design it. And no man who designs his life remains average for long. 2. Your morning is the throne of power. Guard it with everything. I cannot say this clearly enough. If you do not dominate the first hour of your day will dominate you. The first hour is not about productivity, it's about identity. Who you are in that first hour becomes who you will become over the next decade. The world is loud, it is urgent. It wants you reactive, scattered, distracted, anxious. But that first hour is your fortress. You sit, you breathe, you listen, you write, you speak the truth about who you are becoming before the world has a chance to lie to you. You do not start the day in reaction, you start the day with intention. You do not scroll, you sculpt. You do not absorb, you assert. You do not reach for the phone, you reach for the next version of you. Every day for 1 hour, you return to your highest self in silence. No one needs to know, but you will know, and that will change everything. 3. Autosuggestion is not a game, it is a weapon. You are not trying to become a better version of yourself, you are becoming a new one. And new identity must be repeated into existence, because repetition is what rewires the subconscious. You have rehearsed weakness, you have repeated shame, you have affirmed powerlessness through thought, posture, and speech. Now you will reverse it. You do not try to believe, you command belief through repetition. The builder writes daily, speaks aloud daily, embeds phrases into his environment that echo his future. Because when the world gets loud, when emotion rises, when exhaustion whispers, you don't have time to remember who you are. You must be trained in it. Trained so deeply that your automatic thought is not, "I can't," but "I move anyway." Train your thoughts like you would train a soldier. And when chaos hits, you will not fold, you will execute. 4. The emotionally reactive man is a slave, you are becoming free. Here is a law written into the very structure of cause and effect. The man who reacts first loses. The man who chooses when to respond controls the entire situation. Rebuilding your life means you cannot afford to give your power away, not even once. You cannot afford to comment on every insult. You cannot afford to respond to every opinion. You cannot afford to defend yourself to people who are not building anything. You cannot afford to mentally rehearse petty situations that will not matter 5 days from now, let alone 5 years. Instead, you hold your power, you say less, you listen more. You become the man who is 2 moves ahead, not emotionally behind. This is not weakness, this is warfare. Mental neutrality is the weapon that lets you walk through fire without burning your future down out of pride. And that, my friend, is rare. But that is you now. 5. Discipline is the only path to freedom. There is no hack, no shortcut, no tool. There is only this. You either do the hard thing now or suffer for years later. You either show up in silence or you explain your stagnation loudly. You either follow a structure or you chase every shiny object until time runs out. You either obey your highest self or become a slave to your lowest patterns. This is not about punishment. This is about power. Because when you choose discipline daily, decisively, and without complaint, your confidence explodes. Not because you feel better, but because you trust yourself again. That is the currency of the new life, self-trust. And the only way to earn it is to show up when no one is watching. 6. Silence is the soil where the greatest lives are planted. Do not announce your comeback. Do not perform your pain. Do not broadcast your rebuilding. Build it in silence. Build it so strong that the only thing they notice is your presence, not your posts. Build it so consistently that your reputation repairs itself without you saying a word. Build it so fearlessly that no memory of the old you can survive the power of your new standards. You do not need to be loud. You need to be lethal in thought, in action, in focus, in self-respect. The strongest builders of destiny make no sound until they become the storm. You are becoming that storm. And it begins right here. Not when it feels good, not when you're certain, not when others see the progress. It begins now in the silence you once feared but now command. If you have heard these words not just with your ears but with your being, then you now stand at the line. Behind you the self that begged, that over-explained, that broke down over opinions, that sacrificed principle for approval, that talked more than it executed, that chose comfort over character. That survived instead of reigned. That self is done. Ahead of you, a road few will walk. It is quiet, it is exacting. It does not promise you applause, it does not give you a map, it gives you something greater, authority. But only if you are willing to sacrifice the lie of emotional indulgence for the structure of mental sovereignty. Let us speak it clearly one last time. 1. You will no longer obey your emotions. You will feel them, yes, but they will not rule. You rule. 2. You will wake up and own the first hour of the day. That hour is no longer the world's. It is the forge of your next identity. 3. You will write, speak, and repeat truth into your subconscious until belief is not a wish but a weapon. 4. You will stop reacting. No more defending, no more explaining, no more bleeding out energy for opinions. The builder is still. The builder is sharp. 5. You will trust discipline even when it is invisible, even when it is hard, especially when it is silent, because the path is not always lit, but it is always yours. 6. You will disappear from the noise and reappear in your destiny not with fanfare, but with fire in your eyes and an unshakable calm that comes only from doing the work quietly, daily, relentlessly. No one will save you. No applause will sustain you. No technique will replace the raw decision you must now make to obey your own highest standard. Say this now not as a hope, but as a vow. I will rebuild in silence. I will no longer react, I will respond. I will no longer perform, I will execute. I will no longer fear discomfort, I will crave it. I will no longer beg for clarity, I will create it. I will no longer drift, I will design. I will no longer speak of who I was, I will become who I decide to be. And I will not stop, not for emotion, not for doubt, not for fatigue, not for delay. I rebuild now. I rise now. I command now, in silence, in certainty, in full authority of my own inner world. Because when you say that and then you live it, the world will feel it. They won't know what changed. They won't understand why your silence is heavier than their noise. They won't comprehend how you built something so strong, so grounded, so real without them seeing it happen. And that is how it should be. Because your life is no longer a performance. It is a masterpiece built in silence, by discipline, with fire. You are not rebuilding to return. You are rebuilding to become. And from this moment forward, no one gets to define you except the version of you that shows up without fail, when no one is clapping, when no one is helping, when no one even knows you're rising. But you know, and that is all that ever mattered. So now, build quietly. relentlessly, irreversibly, and let the silence do the talking. You will not be returning to who you were. You will not be softening your edge to make others comfortable. You will not be diluting your truth to maintain approval. You will not be trading your silence for applause. You will not be negotiating with mediocrity, fear, guilt, shame, hesitation, or history. You are not rebuilding. You are rebirthing. And from this rebirth, there is no reverse. From this moment forward, every breath is sacred. Every action is precise. Every word you speak is a signature on the contract of the life you've chosen. You will not doubt. You will not delay. You will not ask if you're worthy. You will prove it with every move. You will walk into rooms without saying a word, and the silence will speak for you. Because energy does not lie, and your energy will scream what your past could never imagine. This is someone who built himself from zero and left no part of himself behind. Let them underestimate you. Let them talk. Let them mock. Let them remember the version of you that bent, that broke, that begged. Let them cling to your ghost. Because you are already gone. You are no longer that man. You are no longer that woman. You are no longer tied to their memory of you, their version of you, their expectation of you. You are your own creation now, forged in silence, sharpened by discipline, crowned by stillness, ruled by no one. This world will try to pull you back. It will bait you with noise. It will whisper old names, resurrect old triggers, tempt you to prove yourself, to re-explain your path, to fight battles beneath your rank. But you will not flinch. Because this time, you are not acting like a king, you are one. And kings do not explain. Kings do not announce. Kings do not rush. Kings do not break. They simply rule without apology, without permission, without emotion. And that is what you now carry. Not a speech, not motivation, a mantle. And if you ever doubt again, remember this. You rose from zero without a crowd. You chose silence when noise was easy. You moved in the dark while others performed in the light. You showed up when no one asked you to. You believed when there was no evidence. You became not because you were ready, but because you refused to stay the same. So when the pressure comes, smile. When the fear returns, breathe. When the old self tries to crawl back, speak this truth like a thunderclap. That version of me is no longer alive. I do not think like him. I do not move like her. I do not fold. I do not wait. I build. I endure. I finish. And then walk forward straight into your silence. Because now, the silence is not just where you train. It is where you reign. The silence is no longer your hiding place. It is your palace, your temple, your fortress. And no force on earth, not fear, not fatigue, not memory, not noise, can break what was rebuilt in stillness, forged in fire, and sealed by discipline. This is who you are now, and the world is not ready for what's coming. Success is never granted, it is claimed. And it is not claimed by luck, by popularity, or by mere talent, but by the man or woman who dares to step outside the ordinary pattern of reaction and live according to the one and only law that governs all achievement, the law of inner command. All true success is born, forged, and sustained within the silent chambers of the mind, far from applause, untouched by emotion, unmoved by the turbulence of circumstance. It begins where few are willing to go, inside. You have been told that success is about doing more. That is a lie. Success is not about doing more. It is about becoming more still, more disciplined, more intentional, more detached from impulse, and more obedient to principle. If you build a world outside of you that is magnificent, but you fail to build mastery within, that external empire will fall. It will fall because it lacks foundation. And so I speak now not to the crowd, but to the commander within you, the part of you that already suspects the truth, that you are not being held back by the world. You are being held back by your relationship to your own mind. Your potential is not something to be found, it is something to be unleashed. And you unleash it the moment you stop waiting for permission and begin forging the 10 disciplines I am about to give you, not with emotion, but with decision. Discipline 1. Emotional detachment is the root of all power. Write this into the walls of your mind. If you allow emotions to govern your actions, you forfeit your power. But if you command your thoughts, you command your future. That is not poetry. That is physics. The mind that reacts cannot create. The heart that is enslaved by feeling cannot lead. And the man who confuses impulse with intuition will forever mistake fear for truth. Emotional detachment is not indifference, it is independence. It is the daily discipline of separating your identity from your state. You feel angry, but you are not anger. You feel doubt, but you are not doubt. You feel fear, but you are not fear. You are the observer. You are the gatekeeper. You are the architect who chooses whether these passing clouds shape the structure of your future or are dismissed as weather. The man who detaches from emotion is not cold, he is precise. He does not rush, he does not explain, he does not react. He responds. And that response, filtered through principle, purified through purpose, that is where destiny begins. Make this your practice. Pause before every decision. Separate your emotion from your intention, and act only when the two are aligned. Discipline 2. Build mental discipline or remain a slave to mood. Emotions are fleeting. Discipline is eternal. The man who acts only when inspired will achieve only when convenient. But the man who has trained his body to move when his mind commands, that man is a sovereign force. Your success will not be measured by what you do once. It will be determined by what you repeat. And what you repeat is what you believe. And what you believe was programmed. Most people have never disciplined their beliefs. They inherited them, they absorbed them, they reacted to life instead of designing it. But the man who disciplines his mind rewrites the code. He speaks only what he wants to become. He thinks only what sharpens the edge. He silences what does not serve. Do you understand what I am saying to you? You must build a mind that works for you, not one that works against you. Because if you do not train your thinking will train you. And it will train you to shrink, to delay, to panic, to second guess, to lie to yourself in sophisticated language. So today, begin the habit. Every time you think something, ask, is this helping me go further, or is it keeping me exactly where I am? Choose again, speak again, think again until discipline becomes instinct. Discipline 3. Live by definite purpose or die by indecision. Purpose is not a luxury. It is not a quote. It is not a slogan to wear on your chest. It is a command. And those who do not obey it will live their lives following the mood of the day, the market, or the crowd. They will wonder why they lack direction because they never made a decision. They will wonder why they feel behind because they never picked a horizon and marched toward it. A man without purpose is a ship in the fog, and every storm will seem personal. But the man who declares his purpose cannot be distracted. He is not confused by options. He is not seduced by ease. He is not slowed down by emotion. He is pulled forward by vision. Understand this. Definiteness of purpose is the engine of clarity, and clarity is the death of chaos. You are not confused. You are undecided. Decide now. Who must I become to live the life I am destined for? Write it. Carve it into your mind, and then act from it. Not once. Not when it's easy. Every day. This is the discipline of alignment. And alignment, once built, becomes momentum. Discipline 4. Use autosuggestion as the tool of identity rebirth. You are not your history. You are not your trauma. You are not even your habits. You are your identity. And your identity was programmed by repetition. So now you will use repetition as your weapon. Autosuggestion is the process of deliberately impressing new beliefs into the subconscious mind through daily emotionally charged repetition. It is how you install a new self, not by force, not by hope, by code. Here is the formula. Write one sentence that reflects your ideal character. Speak it aloud 10 times, morning and night. Speak it with emotion and certainty as if it were already true. Not I want to be, but I am. Because the subconscious mind does not care whether something is true. It cares whether it is repeated. If you say I can't often enough, your brain will make it real. But if you say, I remain calm under pressure, I move only by principle, I execute with clarity, your brain will obey. It is not magic, it is engineering. You are not motivating yourself, you are installing a program. Speak your future until it becomes your present. Discipline 5. Govern your response, or be governed by reaction. There is a line in the sand between the masses and the masters. That line is reaction. Average men react. They respond to tone, to offense, to stress, to failure, to noise as if they are puppets pulled by strings they do not control. But the man who has trained himself responds. He has replaced the instinct of reactivity with the intelligence of pause, because he knows the space between stimulus and response is where destiny is decided. That space must be widened, strengthened, protected. Here is how you do it. When you feel emotion rising, pause. Take one breath. Ask, what would the highest version of me do here? Do only that. Do it again and again until that response becomes your reflex. This is not weakness, it is warfare. You are building the one power no one can take from you, control over yourself. And that, my friend, is the beginning of unstoppable success. Discipline 6. Master the principle of accurate thinking or be deceived by emotion. Your potential is not limited by what you lack, but by what you believe without verifying. Most people are not victims of their environment. They are victims of inaccurate thought. They confuse opinions for truth. They mistake emotion for insight. They accept mental habits passed down by the weak and then wonder why their life feels like a maze with no exit. But the man who practices accurate thinking makes no such error. He asks, with ruthless clarity, is this thought true? Is it useful? Is it verified by facts or driven by fear? He does not react based on how he feels. He acts based on what is real. Accurate thinking is the rarest skill in a world addicted to reaction. But it is the one skill that separates those who create their world from those who are forever adjusting to it. Here is the habit. Whenever you have a belief about yourself, your future, your situation, write it down. Then ask, is this a fact or an assumption? Who benefits from me believing this? What would I do if I believed the opposite? This process is not comfort, it is surgical. It removes mental tumors. It slices away every inherited limitation. And when the lies are gone, what remains is clarity, the very substance from which effectiveness is built. Remember this, you cannot maximize your potential if your thinking is contaminated. Your progress depends not just on how hard you move, but on how accurately you aim. Discipline 7. Own your environment or it will own you. You do not rise above your environment. You reflect it. You absorb it. You become it. And this includes not just your location, but your mental environment. What you see, what you hear, what you consume, who you allow into your circle. Every sound, image, and word around you is either reinforcing your identity or destroying it. So understand this law. Success is not just built through effort, it is sustained by ecosystem. If your home is chaotic, your mind will mirror it. If your friendships are weak, your resolve will fracture. If your news feed is noise, your thoughts will scatter. You must become ruthless about what and who you allow into your field of influence. This is not cruelty, this is clarity. You are not judging others, you are protecting your mind. Billionaires know this, masters know this, strategists live by this. But the undisciplined man, he allows his environment to pull him into habits that insult his potential. Let that never be you. Clean your space. Audit your input. Surround yourself only with people and messages that call you forward. Because the mind is not a fortress unless you guard it like one. And once you do, you will find your focus sharpens, your habits deepen, and your thoughts begin to echo your goals instead of the world's confusion. Discipline 8. Build unbreakable routines or surrender to chaos. You are not what you do once. You are what you do repeatedly. And the man who lives by principle must live by ritual. You need a rhythm, not one created by feeling, but one dictated by design. The world pulls, feelings fluctuate, but ritual anchors. Every master you've ever studied, every great mind, every world shaker lived by unbreakable routine. They woke early, they trained daily, they protected the first hour of the day like it was holy, because it is. That first hour sets the frequency. If you begin with randomness, the rest of your day will be a symphony of reaction. But if you begin with intention, silence, clarity, and command, your day becomes your servant. Here is the standard. Wake before the world demands you. Do not consume, create. Do not react, decide. Do not check the noise, check your purpose. Write your mission. Declare your identity. Execute the first priority before the world even knows you're awake. Do this every day, and the world will begin to adjust to your inner order. That is not metaphor, that is mathematics. Because when your inner world is governed by rhythm, the outer world follows its tempo. Discipline 9. Create internal pressure or be crushed by external forces. The man who does not demand more of himself internally will be forced to obey the demands of others externally. In life, pressure is inevitable, but you must choose where it comes from. Either it is created by circumstance or by you. High achievers are not born with more talent. They are born with more urgency. They train themselves to raise the standard before the consequences arrive. They don't wait for the crisis to get serious. They live as if the moment is now because it always is. This is how you stay ahead. Every morning, ask yourself, what would the future version of me, the one who has achieved it all, expect me to do today? Then do only that. Ignore the mood, ignore the opinion, ignore the comfort. Let the vision dictate your pace, not your environment. Because when you raise the internal thermostat, the world must heat up to match it. If you don't, you'll be dragged by deadlines, by bills, by circumstance, by emergencies you could have prevented with inner fire. So build that fire now. Speak urgency. Think urgency. Live urgency. And soon the world will feel it not as stress, but as power. Discipline 10. Let go of the old identity or be chained by its limits. This is the final barrier, and it is the one most never cross. You may have mastered routine. You may have built clarity. You may have practiced stillness and discipline and accurate thought. But if your identity, the inner image of who you believe you are, is still tied to the old version of yourself, you will always find a way to return to who you were. You will sabotage greatness to stay consistent with familiarity. Because the mind hates contradiction. It will either pull your actions down to match your identity or elevate your identity to match your actions. The choice is yours. Let go of the old story. The one that says you can't focus. The one that says you've always been emotional. The one that says success is for other people. That story is not truth. It is a pattern and it is optional. So make the final declaration. I am no longer loyal to the version of me that was built by fear, by comfort, or by survival. I now serve the version of me built by principle, purpose, and power. Speak it until it becomes real. Because once you let go of the old self, the world can no longer use it to control you. And from that moment forward, you are no longer a servant to who you were. You are the architect of who you will become. And your potential, once buried, begins to rise like a storm the world cannot stop. Now that you have been handed these 10 disciplines not as ideas, but as laws, there is only one question that remains. Will you rise or will you return? Return to what? To comfort disguised as clarity. To reaction disguised as reason. To an identity built not by design, but by default. You see, the world has always whispered its seduction into your mind. Be normal, be agreeable, be safe, stay emotional, fit in, react, repeat. But you were not born to obey that whisper. You were not crafted for convenience. You were not summoned into this life to serve the moods of the masses or the tempo of the trivial. You were made to build, to shape, to command. And the man who commands his mind commands everything, but only if he dares, only if he refuses to look away from the truth, only if he burns the bridges to old habits and seals his future behind the steel gate of decision. So let this be the day you decide. Decide that your mind is no longer a playground for emotion, but a temple of principle. Decide that your thoughts will no longer drift like leaves, but strike like lightning. Decide that you will no longer wake up and wonder who you are, what to do, or how to feel. You will define it daily, because mastery does not happen. It is forged. Discipline is not natural. It is installed. Detachment is not indifference. It is intelligence. And you are no longer the man who waits to feel ready. You are the man who moves while others delay. You are the man who builds while others wish. You are the man who acts while others explain. And now you understand something most never will. Success is not found. It is permitted by the one who has taken command of himself. Not by chance, not by birthright, not by accident, but by inner dominion. These are your tools, your weapons, your sacred commandments. And if you live them, I do not say if you try them, I say live them, breathe them, become them. Then the world cannot help but obey you. Not because you sought to dominate others, but because you dominated the one force all others fear, yourself. So what now? Now you execute. You rise before the sun. You speak with authority, not apology. You make decisions that cut. You cut ties with the weak self. You ignore the chatter. You breathe discipline. You radiate stillness. You think in absolutes. You move with certainty. You return each day to your throne, not as a servant of emotion, but as its sovereign. And you remember always, the world reflects not who you hope to be, but who you consistently are. And from this moment forward, you are no longer reaction. You are no longer doubt. You are no longer potential waiting to be discovered. You are potential realized. You are discipline in motion. You are destiny with direction. And the world will feel it. The room will shift when you walk in. The opportunities will move to match your frequency. The distractions will fall away. And what will remain is you, unshaken, unstoppable, unchained, because you did what most never will. You built an inner world so powerful no outer world could ignore it. And that, my friend, is how you go further. Not by force, but by mastery. Not by waiting, but by choosing. And not someday, but now. But if there is still any shadow of hesitation within you, if there remains even a flicker of the old self clinging to comfort, hoping that maybe you don't have to go all in, then let me speak now with the fire of absolute truth and burn the weakness out of you. You do not get to keep your limitations and your greatness at the same time. One must be buried, one must be crowned. And you must choose not with your mouth, but with your life. Because life does not listen to your intentions. It listens to your habits. It listens to your execution. It listens to what you tolerate. And every time you allow fear to decide, every time you let your emotions dictate your movement, every time you delay what you know you must do, you are not just wasting time, you are breaking the contract you made with your higher self. That self is watching you. It sees everything. It sees when you retreat into comfort. It sees when you abandon your standard. It sees when you trade greatness for ease, mission for approval, clarity for chaos. And it says, that is not me. That is not who we are. That is not the destiny we were born to build. So let me ask you, and I want the question to pierce deeper than anything you've ever heard before. Will you die a concept, or will you die fulfilled? Will you be remembered as someone who meant well or someone who meant what he said? Will your life be a blueprint for those who follow or a cautionary tale of a man who almost did something great? Because understand this, potential is not a promise, it is a test. It will demand everything. It will test your consistency. It will mock your excuses. It will strip away your illusions. It will offer you no reward until you give it your discipline, your detachment, and your decision. And most will fail. They will fold at the first sign of resistance. They will confuse distraction for delay. They will sell their birthright for another day of emotional indulgence. But you are not most. You were never meant to be. Because inside you is a throne, and that throne was never meant to be vacant. It was meant to be ruled. And from that throne you now rise. You rise above the impulse. You rise above the habit. You rise above the emotion. You rise above the version of yourself that believed greatness was reserved for someone else. Because now you see it, now you feel it, now you are it. You are the voice. You are the architect. You are the command. You are the law. You are the force. You are the cause. You are the ruler of your inner world. And the man who rules his inner world, he does not chase success. He becomes it. He does not bow to pressure. He applies it. He does not run from storms. He is the storm. He does not wonder who he is. He decides, and the world adjusts. So go now, not with hesitation, but with fire. Not with doubt, but with dominion. Not with hope, but with command. Because the future is not waiting. It is watching. And from this moment forward, it will respond to you not as you were, but as the man you have finally chosen to become. Unshaken, uncompromising, unstoppable, forever.